I want to get into the meat and potatoes, okay?
8th or 9th call. So we had seven communications. So the significance for this is that on July 27, 2021, we look at Justin Johnson's cellular device. We find Hernandez Govan's telephone number. As you say, it's labeled Big Bruh Quet. And that was an incoming text message to Justin Johnson. And it's just an address of 4641 Bowenshire, which is still Smoke in Memphis. It's a shop owned by Anthony Mims and his business partner, Mr. Lambert. Can you go back? I apologize.
All right. So that PowerPoint, that page we just saw said in play that Justin Johnson knew Govan and that Govan knew Jook because he sent the address of Jook's business to Justin Johnson. And did it say when that was? Hold on, I gotta go back. Did it say when? Freak. So this was July 27th, 21. So they established that they all knew each other at least in July of 2021. All right, let's keep going.
Anthony Mims and his business partner, Mr. Lambert. Can you go back? I apologize. And just to note that time, 1937-21, and it shows significance because he's getting the text from Govan, and then on the next slide you'll see Justin Johnson actually sends an outgoing iMessage to an individual we identified as Harry Lockhart, and he just says he's talking to Jook, indicating that maybe he's at the smoke shop and he's talking to Jook. And then you see at 21:08, 43 hours, Anthony Mims creates a phone contact for Justin Johnson, and that contact he labeled as Drop, which is an alias. It's short alias of what we know Justin Johnson to be.
All right. So hold on, let me write that down. Jook created contact for Drop 7/27/21. All right. So I gotta look back. When all this first kicked off, everyone was saying Cornelius was the fall guy and wasn't one of the shooters. Well, we see that's cap, right? 7:37. Hold on, 7:37 p.m. 7:37 p.m. 7:37. I need to go back to the other one. Is it? No, not that one. Okay, I gotta let it explain.
Telephone number, as you say, it's labeled Big Bruh Quet, and that was an incoming text message to Justin Johnson, and it's just an address of created a contact. Mims created for communications. Telephone number, as you say, it's labeled Big Bruh Quet, and that was an incoming text message to Justin Johnson, and it's just an address.
I can't get to the part I needed to.
4641 Bowenshire, which is still Smoke in Memphis. It's a shop owned by Anthony Mims and his business partner, Mr. Lambert. Can you go back? I apologize. And just to note that time was 1937-21.
All right, so Johnson, who is straight drop, texts Govan, who then sends him the address to Jook's smoke shop. That was at 7:37 p.m. At 8:31 p.m., somebody by the name of Ham texts Johnson and told him he's talking to Jook. Then by 9:08 p.m., Jook creates a contact in his phone for Justin Johnson. So the state implies that Govan introduced Justin Johnson to Jook. But how do we know that Ham didn't do the introduction? Because obviously Ham was in, whether he's at smoke shop or not, because just because somebody said they talking to somebody don't mean they actually is physically on the phone, or they could be in person. You know what I'm saying? So we'll continue. I see the plot though, but it still have a little doubt in my mind, because if they never would have had the text from Ham saying that he was already talking to Jook, and just had the text between Johnson and Govan, then Jook creating a contact, I'm like, okay, he definitely introduced them. But adding that extra party, it's crazy. Did the actual video of the shooting leak? What you mean leak? It's been out since the last trial.
And it shows significance because he's getting the text from Govan, and then on the next slide you'll see Justin the shop. Mims creates a phone contact for Justin Johnson, and that contact he labeled as Drop, which is an alias. It's short alias of what we know Justin Johnson to be, just like a short alias we know Jook to be. It usually goes by Big Jook or Jook, and then we've heard referred to Drop, or his actual name that he uses is Straight Drop on YouTube and things of that nature.
So when you say he created a contact, he was putting the phone number into this phone.
Right, he created that contact to be at 7/27/2021, 9/8/47 p.m. He creates that contact, and then, as you see, 21:08, 49 hours. Justin Johnson creates a contact for Anthony Mims' telephone number and labels it Jook, which is the alias. So both these individuals in relatively in the same time frame created contacts for each other. Again, indicating that they're probably within communication distance or in the same vicinity. So this is the following day, July 28th. So after that, and as you see here, so Justin Johnson, his cellular device shows an outgoing, so it's an iMessage to Jermaine Sears with the address of 3641 Allendale Lane. And then that same day at 17:24 hours, we have an incident at the, it was called the Double R Auto Services, and it's at 821 South Highland Street. And the two victims that just worked at the shop state that a tan BMW is being chased by a burgundy Dodge Charger. Three males get out of the Charger and start firing upon an unknown male and a female who remained in the car. The unknown male and the BMW fled. We were able to later identify that to be one Terrence Baker. His prints had hit on the car, but he never filed a police report or would communicate with officers about the incident at all.
So the victim was Terrence Baker?
Correct. He just wouldn't communicate with us or anyone. And as you see here, the 17:24 hours, that address, the
All right. So paper route Woo is Terrence Baker, who they are saying was shot at on July 28th. Now, we also know that, according to Cornelius Smith, that Govan gave him and Bobby Carter guns to go shoot Paper Route Woo. Is this the same situation? Did he get shot at twice?
Address at the shop, the 820, what is it, 821 or 823 South Highland?
I think 833.
It's approximately, I don't know, I can't read it because it's kind of far, 0.49 miles away. So it's not that far away.
You're talking about this address here, the 30.
So that address is actually 3645 Allendale. He sent a different address. If you go to the next slide.
Oh, before we go to the next slide, you've indicated that the victim of the shooting was Terrence Baker.
Correct.
Does he go by any other name?
Yes, he goes by Woo, or Paper Route Woo.
And as part of your investigation, did you determine him to be a artist on
Yes,
PRE?
he's an artist. Sorry, he's an artist on PRE. As you see, so here is the actual address, the 3645 Allendale. And the address that Justin sent was right next door. So it was actually 3641. So he just had the address wrong. Here's so later that day, 1804 hours, Mississippi finds the Dodge Charger. Witnesses on the scene say they see three males jump out and run. The vehicle was stolen. They then processed that vehicle, which came back with some APHIS hits. So the fingerprint, when they dusted the vehicle, they had prints come back as to be for Justin Johnson, Rashad Hill, and Cavius Wesley.
So when the world did Cornelius Smith shoot out with Woo then? So it must have been two incidents with Paper Route Woo.
And then also they located a spent .40 caliber cartridge casing on the driver's side floorboard. And that spent cartridge casing showed to correlate with the cartridge casing found on the scene at the Double R shop over on South Highland Street. And then this is August 13th, so we get to this date from, again, Cornelius's interview. We look at the hot number list. We see that 859-1460, a number that belongs to Govan, had 12 communications with Justin Johnson on that day. It was a top caller.
Before we get there, go back just a bit. So we mentioned Cornelius. Do you know when Mr. Govan or Justin Johnson or Jook's number appeared with Cornelius? You were able to ascertain the information?
It would be hard to say just because, we get records for a certain amount of time. So I wouldn't be able to determine. I would be able to say a date just based off records we have, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they weren't communicating prior to that.
If you can or can't, the records that you have, when is the first time that you see any of the individuals appear in Cornelius's phone?
I don't know. I don't have that, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So again, for this, it's the communications for Justin Johnson, and it's going to be on August 13th, 2021. And as you can see here for Justin, he's got 12 communications with Hernandez Govan, who's his top caller. And then this is going to be the same. So another hot number list for Cornelius Smith. Now, the number is different because he had this telephone number, same device, but different telephone number, which is 901-479-3786. I think on his device it showed that number was last used in September, so that means it's probably sometime he changes over to the number you saw earlier. And on that hot number list, you see Bobby Carter has 33 communications, which is about his third caller. And then Devin Burns is about a sixth caller. And then you have Hernandez Govan with 8 communications, about his 10th caller.
We see his first one is Angela Arnold.
Correct. And then on this one, we have Anthony Mims' hot number list. And again, it's filtered for just the 13th. And as you can see here, Govan's number 4. I think that's 4 communications. He's actually 10, maybe 9 callers down, because you can see you have a bunch of unknown. And then you have number 2 callers, just a list of numbers. That's usually just information getting from the cell phone company and other things, like other traffic, but actual numbers, he's about number 9, 10. And then on August 13th, at 13:45 hours, we have the 911 call where Terrence Baker's cellular device calls and says that he's at Allendale being shot at and he's hiding. They asked for his name, he refused to give it. He just told them to hurry up, they're coming after him.
All right. So we following the state's theory. Govan invited Johnson to Jook's business. Somebody named Ham texts Johnson and let him know he was talking to Jook, meaning that over an hour had passed and Johnson had not made it to Jook's business. Later on, about 9 o'clock, Jook and Johnson exchanges phone numbers. The next day, Johnson texts somebody named Sears an address that's supposed to be of Paper Route Woo. Paper Route Woo is shot at, and the people involved turned out to be Johnson and 2 other people. Next, August 13th, everybody is in communication with each other. So you got Johnson communicating with Govan, whether it's calls or texts, but 12 times that day. You got Cornelius Smith and Bobby Carter 33 times that day. You got Smith talking to Govan 8 times that day. You got somebody named Burns talking to Smith 9 times that day. You got Govan and Jook talking 4 times that day, which is the day that Paper Route Woo is shot at in Allendale. So we already know, according to Cornelius Smith, that Govan put him on that play. Gave him the gun and all. We already heard that in testimony. So it seems like to me, if I'm going off of what the state theory is that the meeting at Jook's business in July set the whole hit list in motion. Now, what's missing though is when did Cornelius Smith go to Govan's house to meet Jook? That's a very important date to the timeline. But nevertheless, we'll keep going. But so far, that meeting on July 27th is, from what they present, is the start of the whole conspiracy. Now, my question is, if this is a conspiracy, then we're missing some people off the indictment. So, if the Wu shooting that included Smith was August 13th, then it's going to be very important what connections they made from August 13th to November 17th. So let's get back into it.
And then this will be communications with the conspirators that are with Justin Johnson and Cornelius Smith, and then the other individuals, Anthony Mims, Hernandez Govan, and any variation of their other numbers at that time. So as you can see, it's represented in color. Is essentially the light pink is going to be Hernandez Govan, the blue is Anthony Mims, and then on the left it's, let's see, I think I've got Justin Johnson is yellow, and then Cornelius Smith is green, just to kind of so you can see the kind of the flow of things. And so
hold on. So on November 2nd, 1625 is Johnson, right? See, okay. So 1625 is Johnson. He was talking ongoing to both Govan and Jook. So to be honest, you can't really say who he was working for, because he had access to both. And if you look at the amount of time he talked, they was really brief calls, except for he called Govan and talked for 7 minutes. Like, what really was y'all talking about for 7 minutes? But then he had a 3-minute call, but everything else, a 1 second, that must have just didn't go through. All right, let's keep going.
Essentially, on November 2nd, we had Justin Johnson had 7 communications with the cellular device that belongs to Govan, and then he had 4 communications.
And I'm sorry, are these in chronological order on the date?
Correct.
So Justin communicated with Hernandez Govan, then he communicated with Anthony Mims, then he communicated with Govan again, then he communicated with Mims again, and then he communicated with Govan again.
Correct.
Okay.
And then essentially this is just those call detail records, but the actual call detail records, it's got like service codes, tower information. You'll see it has a version of the IMEI. It won't give you the actual IMEI. They kind of do some equation where they change the last 2 digits so people can't steal the IMEI off the records and create their own kind of their own service or their own account. So, but it just gives you a little bit more information. It can tell you call voicemail if there's multiple users on one call, if they're doing 3-way, things of that nature. And then again, as you can see, you have Justin Johnson in the yellows, Cornelius Smith in the green, and essentially it just kind of shows the way they're cut, like who they're communicating with, and the kind of the flow in chronological order, how they're talking. So as you can see, Justin Johnson had 7 with Hernandez Govan. Justin Johnson had 4 with Anthony Mims, and then he had 0 with Cornelius. And then Cornelius had 20 communications with Hernandez Govan, but he had 0 with Justin and 0 with Anthony Mims.
This is the weakest, give a fuck about what they scream.
Holla!
Shout out Mickey. Mickey, you gonna be big. Like,
yeah,
I'm trying to conquer the world, coming from where I come from.
Hey, this your girl Mickey Truth, #1 blogger in South Carolina. #1 blogger in South Carolina.